talking all things Miami spring break rules 2025, and there are definitely things you probably didn't know. Welcome and welcome back. You're watching Kiera's Lux Life. I'm Lanisha Kier, where I bring you all things fun, beauty, luxury, lifestyle, and travel. If that's something you're interested in, make sure you subscribe, hit that bell notification so you're notified when I have a future upload. So, spring break is definitely one of those times of year where everybody flocks to the beaches, whether it's Virginia Beach, Miami, wherever your like place of interest is to go. That's where the people go. So apparently in the last few years there have been a lot of let's call them incidents that I guess authorities and people in the area, residents there, felt that were really unnecessary and felt that they could be managed better. So I've got the iPad out and we're gonna go over some of the Miami Beach, Florida rules. So again, this is what's coming out here for 2025 and prepping for disorderly crowds, things of that nature, but it is prepped to be set as a precedent moving forward. So what to expect: $100 parking, curfews, heavy police presence, security checkpoints, and at least DUI enforcement. Now, the DUI enforcement piece is huge. I know there's a lot of, college students going, a lot of folks, younger, I don't want to say younger generation, but like, early 20s, early mid 20s going. So typically there's alcohol involved. So for them to say, hey, doing the drinking in public, of course, things like that are prohibited actions. So following actions are illegal: consumption of alcohol, smoking on public beaches and parks, narcotics and marijuana, driving under the influence, and then driving a scooter or vehicle irresponsibly, and violence of any kind. Now, this particular one, depending on where you are, scooters, golf carts, other like mopeds, other like smaller like motorized devices for the spring break time are going to be prohibited on the beaches and then on the pathways leading to the beach areas. I think this is an interesting one because it's one of those, like, if used responsibly, I don't think it's really a big deal, but for the safety aspect of it, even what we saw in the new year happening down in New Orleans with, an individual wanting to like run into a crowd, same kind of concept. So that seems to be why it is not going to be permitted. In addition to cigarettes, coolers, inflatable devices, tents or tables. Now the tents or table bit is like, I don't know. I mean, I get it, but I think it's one of those, if you want to go out, especially for the day, with like your family, and I'm thinking more like vacation mode, not spring break room mode, but typically there's a tent. Typically, you bring coolers to have drinks. So it seems to be that they're kind of wanting to create a space where it's like you're not hanging out there. Maybe you stop by there, go for a swim, and then you leave it. So that it's a different way of viewing it versus like being a leisure hangout kind of space. Now, another thing was loud music. They did do, which I like how the Miami Police Department actually did this. They did do a video, and the video is basically kind of meant to be satire, but they are actually showing or depicting like the actual real events to show the rules, to show how certain things are going to be enforced, kind of like the DUI checkpoint. So there are going to be certain areas, entrances to the beach, that are going to be closed off. And then there are going to be other areas where you have quote unquote a checkpoint. So think of it as like you're going to come, they're going to check your bags, again, for any of the prohibited items that they have listed. And then they're going to let you know that, hey, you're able to come in, you're permitted, or you're not. Very, very simple. That's what comes about in the checkpoints. Now, here's the skinny. I would definitely recommend checking out the website. The one I'm on right now is miamibeachfl.gov. This particular one here is what's put up by, Miami in and of itself, to be able to give you guys information and kind of see what's what. I think the hang to it is this, and same thing with any kind of checkpoint, whether you're going to a theme park or you're going to an airport, there comes a point where if you have prohibited items, you're either going to have to abandon them, which is basically, tossing it out, going back to your vehicle, which depending on how far you parked is maybe a thing, maybe not a thing. I know, last time I was even in Virginia Beach, like they were prepping for an event. So like the event was going to be the following day, but a lot of areas like you couldn't park. So what it usually led to, you had to park further away, then you got to walk far and you get to the beach. So if you get to the beach, by that time you're like, oh, you didn't realize you couldn't have a cooler. Now the cooler is likely full of stuff. You don't really want to abandon it. So now you got to bring it back. So that part can kind of be a pain. So I would definitely recommend checking out the site on that. Glass containers, of course, that's pretty much standard no matter what beach you go to. Styrofoam, plastic straws, and balloons, again, also standard. Now, here's the hack for me. For spring break, again, they had it for certain weekends and certain periods, so it's not going to be specifically throughout, March and throughout, other times. It's going to be specific times. And they do have some inflated pricing. So I do believe I saw towing. Yep, non-resident towing rate is going to be $532. They're saying it's about double the normal rate. That is obscene. $532 for towing. But again, I do think it speaks to the testament of parking being an issue. Like, parking sucks. Like, everyone knows about parking. On here, it also tells you certain areas to park and reference. I would kind of get that, map it out, Google Maps or, MapQuest it out so you can kind of see what's what, so you can plan. And then off-peak times, they talk about your regular, flat parking rate for $30 for off-peak times. Here's the debate. And you guys tell me if I'm on the mark or not. As an individual who lives not too far from an event arena, kind of actually share parking, where I live, I actually share parking with one of the event arenas in the area, and it can be a pain. So in that respect, I'm going to give you the purview from like a resident who's, not too far, pretty much next door to an event space where we share parking and stuff like that. These folks, same thing with residents there, they're getting the brunt of it too. And I think the challenge with it is because there are curfews in place, because there are restrictions with parking, because there are, limits on alcohol, limits on things like that. I think it does take away some of like the element, if you will, which for, police and authorities led to chaos in the previous years, vehicles out of control, fights, other things that are just truly unnecessary. With that being said, it has impacted businesses. And the businesses have come forward, I think, more than ever this year, expressing their concerns. With that being said, everyone's not a student. Everyone's not a student. Everyone's not out being irresponsible. And it really has driven away a lot of the business for adults, the rest of us, adults, so to speak, who, want to go down, or even residents, right? You want to go down, you want to go to your favorite restaurant. It's going to be, downtown in Miami or, somewhere nearby. And you're limited in what you can do, or maybe you're not able to order a drink. You want to get a glass of wine with your steak. And to be honest, it shouldn't be that big of a deal. But I think there's perhaps a disconnect. Let me know your thoughts. Do you think that the businesses should have a bit more control over, their hours of business and who they're able to serve to? If they're saying, even if they increase the age, if they said, hey, 30, if you're under 30, hey, we're not able to serve to this time, but if you're over 30, that, you know what I mean? Some way, somehow to kind of separate the divide from the residents, or, maybe some of more of the mature crowd versus kind of everything else. Businesses have mentioned their decline in revenue as it pertains to, folks coming for spring break. A lot of people look forward to, a lot of businesses look forward to whatever their it factor is. If it's spring break, if it was the Super Bowl, if it was any, the previous events leading up to it, New Year's, Christmas, those big events, a lot of businesses thrive off that time. So I think it's an interesting spin. I like the idea of kind of like coming together and keeping everyone safe, but some of the rules there definitely make you want to think twice about it, especially if it's a flat fee for $100 for parking. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you have plans on going to Miami Beach? Or if you're not going to go to Miami, if you're going to go somewhere else like Fort Lauderdale, Orlando, or just go somewhere else in general if you decide that you're going to Florida. And let me know if you've changed your plans based on the new restrictions that you see, or if you're deciding to go but maybe wanting to have fun or enjoy your time for spring break in a different way. As always, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment down below. Let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye.